Jedis, an awesome idea with powers, lightsabers, and some really awesome fights with great choreography. Who doesn't love the idea of playing as a Jedi? We'll keep dreaming, people, because today we are looking at EOE, Eve of Extinction, the game in which you have a knockoff lightsaber, some other weapons, some powers which are not that great, and lots of fighting with terrible choreography. Won't this be exciting? So, Eve of Extinction is a 3D beat-em-up, developed by Yukes and published by Eidos Interactive, and was released in 2002 for the PlayStation 2. Now, you can blame my good mate Chemical Dog for looking into this one, as he personally requested it, as he has very fond memories. Sorry buddy, I'm going to ruin those memories. If you would like to complain to him about this game choice, then there is a link down to his channel below. Metacritic gave this game a 57, so not great, and the user score is amazingly 7.9. But that's only from 8 reviews, so unfortunately that is less reliable. IGN gave it a 3.5 and GameSpot gave it a 6.5. So as you can see, not too great across the board. But with that all said, let's look at this game. Now, I'm going to be completely spoiling this game, so this is your warning. If you want to play this game beforehand, then I suggest you go do so. But to be honest, I wouldn't waste your time. So with EOE's story, I struggled to actually understand what the hell was going on as I was playing, unfortunately. But let me try and say this to you in a manner that I understood. You play as Josh Calloway. You are an employee of the Wisdom Company, who are the antagonists of this game. They plan to take over the world using a special power to use this thing called Legacy. Legacy is something created by fusing something called auriculum. Yeah, I believe it should be orichalcum, as it's spelt like this, but they keep saying auriculum, so I found that confusing.
Auriculum.
But yeah, they want to fuse it with a human soul. Your girlfriend, Eliel, is also an employee of Wisdom and is taken to the company to create a legacy out of her, which makes her body disappear, but she becomes your weapon for the game and is still able to talk to you. Whew. Your mission is to save your girlfriend by taking on Wisdom, getting a memory chip owned by the CEO. Yes, it sounds weird as hell, but at the same time, it sounds like it has the makings of a decent original storyline. It unfortunately just was not fleshed out enough and felt like it was rushed through a bit. The characters you come across are pretty one-dimensional. You have the protagonist, who is your average must save my girlfriends at all costs, run through the door kind of guy. The soft-spoken damsel in distress, who, although is our weapon throughout the game, I don't really know anything about her to give a damn. I actually kind of forgot she was our character's girlfriend, as a lot of the dialogue between you and her actually feel like you're more trying to save your sister or a friend. The CEO is that good old, I will get what I want and I shall destroy the world. Very boring. Then you have one particular character called Raven. He's working for Wisdom 2 and you actually fight him like 3 times. Eventually, he shows his true colours and he is also trying to stop Wisdom. This as a trope is not that innovative. But in 2002, it wasn't done as much, so he was the most developed character of them all. So the gameplay is an interesting topic for this game because I feel like there were so many good ideas that were thought of and the developers tried to implement, but then were not fully fleshed out, unfortunately. Let's take this step by step, because there's a lot here to break down. First, we shall look at the world. It's pretty empty. You travel around these areas, either consisting of streets with generic buildings, temples, and generic hallways, or the wilderness with some really generic scenery. I believe the developers knew the world wasn't well thought out because throughout the game, your character's girlfriend, aka your weapon, is the one who gives you hints and tells you what you need to do. She literally tells you something at all times and does not even give you a moment to figure things out for yourself. Here's an example.
Can't open it. How can we finally inside. Anything can happen here. Be careful. Water. Josh, be careful not to run out of air.
Why could they not realise I can figure out for myself that I cannot go through that door and that I need to look around? When a game has someone telling you exactly what to do at all times, then that tells me that they do not have faith in the design themselves, and that they believe you need someone holding your hand to get through it. I realise that's a bit of a brisk overview of the world, but if I went any further into depth, I would either be here for ages just getting infuriated by the lack of a world, or I would end up talking for ages about nothing. Because there is nothing. Neither of which is pretty appealing. The combat. The crux of the game. The thing you do throughout the entire game. It is not good. It is slow and really, really sluggish. You start with a sword, which is quite clearly a knockoff lightsaber. I mean, even listen to these sounds it makes. The other weapon you start with is a staff. Now as you go through the game, you gain more and more weapons, ranging from a giant axe to a broadsword to a boomerang. Your weapons have a level ranging from 1 to 5. At level 1, pretty much every weapon just has a one-hit combo. So no combo at all, and the more you use it, the more experience it gets. Once you get to level 2, you get an extra hit to your combo. When this happened, I thought, okay, this isn't too bad. Once the weapons are leveled up, the combat will be more fluid, and you'll have a lot more combos. I was so wrong! The sword's longest combo is a 4-hit combo, and I think all the others get a 3-hit combo. In all honesty, I didn't check every single one because near the end of the game, you gain so many weapons in such a short space of time, like one level or something, I was not willing to level them all up. Now you can change weapons mid-combo, and it does flow into a final hit with the weapons you change to. But that's all. You cannot then chain it further to do some awesome combos with a variety of different weapons. This meant I actually ended up just cheesing my way through most of the fights with the same attack over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So that's the two ideas I felt they had that they never fleshed out fully, and we've only looked over combinations. Each weapon also has a different action skill. These are very simple things. Most of them are just different versions of a dodge, some of which are repeated with different weapons. The only one that was used really was the poles, and that's because it gives you a big old jump. As you gain each weapon, you then have to gain 2 things for them called ley seeds. These allow you to use the weapon's legacy drive. Oh my god, all these different names start to do my nutting. Which is just a special ability. You even have a mana bar in the top left to show you how many times you can use them. Each weapon's ability is different, so the sword is a fire attack, the staff uses lightning, they even vary to the crossbow creating a healing bubble around you, and the broadsword creating a copy of you. Once again, I thought this would be cool to play with, and especially since each time I got a new weapon's legacy drive, the game had points in which I had to use them to continue the level. I thought, that's even better, as there was going to be awesome puzzles and platforming later on in which I must start combining them. I should really have stopped expecting things by this point, because other than the protective bubble, I think you had to use each power once to progress through the game. And that was the level you found them in. This is a real waste of a mechanic. What's more is, remember that mana bar I mentioned? Yeah, it never increases. You get 2 uses, no matter where in the game you are, or what level your weapon is. This was a real disappointment, because I was hoping that as I progressed, I'd be able to use more and more powers to take down my enemies and make me feel like a real badass. I could not have been more wrong. So, what's that now? 4 ideas that they had, which could have been awesome, but they just never did anything more with. Minor thing, but the jumping mechanic is a joke. And there were a fair few points I had to do some platforming. They made this game so you cannot grab a ledge with a weapon in your hand. Why? What is the benefit of this? All this means is if you do a pole jump, or heaven forbid just fall off an edge, to grab the ledge so you don't fall to your death, you must change weapons very quickly. And on top of that, remember to press the action button to grab the ledge. I just do not see the benefit of this. It's not worth the effort. Things would have been so much smoother if you could either grab a ledge with a weapon in your hand, or at the very least, just make it an automatic grab. It seems unnecessarily complicated for just jumping. Okay, so one final thing about the gameplay, and this, I believe, is the worst. This is the main offender, and if this was done properly, then it would have made the game so much more bearable and playable, even with the clunky combat and all the previous issues. I am talking about the camera. It is fucking atrocious. The only control you have over it is to hold the R2 button and have it stay behind you. This doesn't always work though. You can lock onto a target, but at that point you're guarding and cannot move freely and end up sidestepping, and it still doesn't constantly look where you want it to. Not so much of a problem when the enemies stay next to you, but most bosses do not. They run around and stay out of your line of sight. Just check out the final boss and how much of a pain it is just because you cannot control where you're looking. I get it was 2002, but even so, Kingdom Hearts came out in 2002, and although people complained about the camera control, at least they had some. Give them this, and there would have been a revolt. It is seriously that bad. My point is that the camera control in games was a thing, and was doable for this style of game, but they just didn't bother. So yeah, all of the gameplay pretty much sucks. As I said, there were so many ideas I felt they had. And I get this image that people kept saying when making this game. Oh, hey, why don't we do this? And someone just replied with, yeah, that sounds great. And then they end up having so many moments like this that they shoved all of them in, but didn't have time to refine them. And because of this, the gameplay is slow, clunky, hard to control, and just not something I could get used to. So let's start with the graphics. They're not terrible. The game was made in 2002, and yeah, they don't hold up well, but not many graphics from that era do, so that I won't hold against it, and for the time, yeah, they ain't too bad. The unfortunate part with all this is that the detail is lacking. So the models aren't too bad, but other than the bosses, the enemies all look the same, and the world is very plain with the way it's made. Each level looks the same throughout themselves, and they never expand much from what you see at the beginning. The main character is actually one of the least detailed characters in the whole game, which to me is a terrible way to go. When you create a main character who you have to spend the whole game looking at, you want him to look like a badass motherfucker, and this guy, I mean, look at him. He looks so bland and basic, it's untrue with his stupid yellow vest and blue jeans. Next, the music and sound effects. The music is kind of non-existent. Each level has a single track which is very bland and basic and doesn't really go anywhere. They are very boring and really don't add anything to the game. Here's an example. And that's pretty much it through the whole game. The sound effects were alright, nothing special, but at least they're there. The biggest issue is every time I swung the sword, it just made me think of a knockoff lightsaber. The voice acting is pretty bad, which I thought was interesting because you have some pretty experienced voice actors within this. You have Cam Clark doing the voice of Josh, the main character. Now, if you don't know his name, you may know him from one of the many voices he's done over the years, such as Simba from Kingdom Hearts 2, and a voice a lot of you guys will know, Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and Twin Snakes.
We're not going anywhere. We're going to dig in here. It's going to be a long war.
As many, many more. You have Peter Renedy doing the voice of the main villain, Agla. Now, this is the best voice acting in the game.
My ultimate dream. A clash between two legacies, both charged to their maximum power. That is why I chose you. That is the only way that I can achieve death.
Which tells me at least someone cared slightly? If you don't know Peter Renedy, then look him up because he's done tons, and I mean tons, ranging from video games to Disney to a small amount of Studio Ghibli. But overall, the voice acting isn't great, and it definitely feels like people didn't care too much about it, and that maybe it was just for the paycheck. Of course, that is just speculation on my part, so don't take it as fact, but that's just how it feels when I hear the voice acting. So as a quick roundup to this, I do not believe this is a good game. I believe it had the potential to be, but it was just not there. There were too many things trying to be implemented that were just not finished. The graphics were average, the world is pretty boring and empty, the story is a bit mental and hard to follow, and the gameplay is slow, clunky, and awkward. And even though there were all these problems, the gaming experience could have been improved with just some more camera control being implemented. There are extra things you can do, such as when you beat the game, you can start again with all your weapons still leveled up. And you get these pretty cool looking red blades, which are crazy strong. But I seriously wasn't willing to play more to level them up and see how good they got. You can also unlock some mini games, such as like a boss rush and things, but I wasn't willing to put myself through those, so sorry about that. In total, I played this game for just under 5 hours, and I played through the game once. That's all I was willing to give it. Overall, I would say if you want an older type of game to bring some of that sweet PS2 nostalgia, do not go for this one. Sorry, KD. Well, that's all we got time for today, and thank you all for joining me. If you have not done so already, then please hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to keep up to date on all my latest videos. Did you play Eve of Extinction? If so, then let me know what you thought about it down below. Maybe we can have a discussion about it. If you have a game you want me to review, then just let me know, either down in the comments or you can tweet me at DrumForestDrum, and I shall have a little look. See you next time. Take it easy, everybody.